Sweetie, I'm recording this in Baldur's Gate 3 just so that YouTube can translate my words into text. Because to tell this story properly, I need to tell it and not type it. And so I'm just going to use YouTube to, do the speech to text sort of thing for me, okay? So here I'm going to continue this story about Buddy Wright. Whenever I asked the students in my class to raise their hand if they wanted to get up and perform in showtime, I'd say, "It's showtime. Who wants to get up and, perform for the class?" And, some kids would raise their hands and other kids wouldn't. Those that raised their hands, I would let them come up and, do their thing, perform, improvise, whatever, or do something they've been practicing. It and it wasn't, on stage in front of, a bunch of people that didn't know. It was just basically, the same kids that they'd all been hanging out with in the class I was teaching. And there was no, in any way, fucking shape or form that I demanded, although I did encourage that the students come up and perform, for their peers. But I sure as fuck never told somebody, "You damn well better get up here or else." And not only that, since it was a BOCES after school program, there was no freaking pass or fail. They were there when they were there because they wanted to be, and not only that, their parents and or the school system allowed them to be there. It wasn't like I told these kids, "You gotta be here to watch Cosmo teach you magic." I mean, for fuck's sake. you know, yeah, when I had to, try and figure out algebra from somebody who didn't understand it themselves, I finally, never mind that whole story. But the thing is, no kid in my class was ever fucking told, "Get up here and perform or else." That's basically the you know so when this woman comes up to me and says, "Why did you tell Buddy that he has to get up and on stage and perform for his classmates? It hurt his it hurt his feelings and stuff, and I don't think that's right. You should never have done that." And I was like, excuse me, but I think one of us is completely being misinformed about what happened. I explained to her, number one, the kids are in the class because either they want to be there or their parents or guardians, push them into being there. And more importantly, I never, ever, ever told kids they must come up and perform. I always only, and made it very perfectly clear, only if you want to, raise your hand and you can come up and perform for your classmates. And she was like, "Oh, okay, I gotcha. So yeah, Buddy needs to do some explaining." Now that moment, that moment made me feel good. I was like, okay, so actually, the whole idea of a parent teacher, thing, holy shit. I was invited to actually have a parent teacher moment where me as teacher was talking to parent or guardian. I can't remember what the relationship between Buddy Wright and the woman that came up to me was. Still not sure. I think it was like his aunt or something. Anyway, I felt good about the whole thing. And then a few months later, now keep in mind, I'm teaching these classes, if I remember correctly, in the spring. Early, yeah, early spring. And then Cosmo the Magician, me, is working at my favorite place that I've ever performed at in my entire life, the Lobster Pot in Lake George. A kid walks up to me and says, "Hey, Cosmo, do you remember me?" And I'll be honest, one of my normal go to answers when a kid says something like that to me is like, "Oh, sure, kid, I probably did that rope trick for you a while back." Just because, sure, I must have. And the kid says, "Oh, no, I'm Buddy Wright. I was in your magic class." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Hey, kid, give me a few minutes. This place is busier than, all heck. I'd forget my own damn name if it wasn't, tattooed to my wrist." And I joke, I point to my wrist. I'd forget my own name if it wasn't tattooed to my wrist, and then point to my wrist. Obviously, there's no tattoo there. Get a joke. And I said, "But I'll tell you what, kid, I will talk to you in a bit, but I've got a bunch of people waiting." And so I eventually got together, walked over to his table, and I was like, honestly, I still don't remember you. And he was like, "Oh yeah, because I never got up on stage and stuff. But guess what? I'm going to be doing the magic show at Magic Forest here in Lake George next weekend." Talk about a fucking mic drop moment. The most shy, totally, the kid who some adult told me, "Don't put this kid on stage," somehow of his own free will decided that he was going to become not just somebody who liked magic, but was going to do it on fucking stage. Yeah, talk about a mic drop moment. And dear, if you, I can't prove this story, but I can tell you it sure as fuck happened. And with that, I'm gonna end this recording and then paste it to you, my love.